Hi, I'm Kristin, Ardis, young adult and new adult fantasy author. My debut novel, Smoke and Light, just released on March 5th, 2024, and I'm going to read the first chapter for you. Before I do, let me tell you a little bit more about the book. Smoke and Light is a romantic upper YA fantasy novel with some dystopian vibes. It has royalty, rulers versus rebels, elemental magic, memory loss, secrets and lies, a magical forest, and so much more. I'm going to read the first chapter. Here we go. One more step. All you have to do is take one more step. It was a lie. This hallway alone seemed unending as I shuffled forward on bare feet, the chill of gleaming black tiles seeping through my skin with every step. I had no way of knowing how far I had left to go. I couldn't even tell if I was still in the medical wing. If I could feel so lost within the palace annex, I couldn't imagine trying to wander through the palace itself. But one step seemed doable when everything else felt insurmountable, so lie or not, I kept repeating it. One more step. I had to get away before anyone realized I was gone. I couldn't stand to go back to that stifling recovery room. They'd promised I would be released from medical last week. I refused to wait for permission anymore. My legs swayed as pain flared in my head. Squinting against the harsh overhead light, I reached to brace myself against the wall as I pushed forward. I was tired of the limitations of my body and refused to let them hold me back anymore. But as I stumbled into the wall on my next step, I knew I wouldn't make it to my room. I didn't even know where it was. Its location was blank, like every other important memory I should have had but didn't. 19 years old, and all I could remember was the last 3 months. I gasped against another stab of pain. My knees buckled and I slid down the wall, gripping my head through thick brown hair that it would do nothing for the pain. As my fingers glanced across the shaved strip I kept covered, they brushed over the raised scar hidden there. I winced, unwilling to dwell on it or the circumstances that had made the surgery necessary. Not that I knew much about it anyway. Pills. I had to take my pills. My hand shook as I blindly searched my pockets. When I came up empty, I groaned, dropping my head back against the wall. Had I left them behind, dropped them somewhere along the way? This had to be the most disastrous escape attempt in Anwan's history. A heavy sigh rang in my ears, followed by the familiar clink of pills against glass. Looking for these? I squinted my eyes open, defeated. My best friend stood before me as I'd expected her to, pill bottle in hand, brow arched, her angled bob barely brushing the shoulders of her red dress as she stared down at me with an unimpressed frown. Only the soft waves in her black hair surprised me. She usually wore it straight. I assumed I had the styling change to thank for my chance to escape. It must have been why she'd been late for her regular visit. Rather than speak, I held out a trembling hand. Amelia immediately dropped a pill into my palm. I grimaced and swallowed it dry. Thanks, I said as I slumped into the wall and waited for the medicine to bring relief. I closed my eyes, having no desire to watch Amelia take in how awful I looked. I hadn't bothered to braid my hair back, let alone brush it, and I always seemed to wake with sunken eyes on the mornings I struggled to remember my dreams. Add in the sheen of sweat covering my skin thanks to this latest episode, and I was sure Amelia would be ready to bundle me back into bed at the first opportunity. You should have waited, Kara, she chided, carefully settling in front of me on her knees before tucking her hair behind her ear. Dr. Jensen was going to release you today. She said she would last week and the week before that. I blinked back tears. Pain still danced through my head. Or maybe these were tears born of frustration. It was hard to tell anymore. I can't stay in medical anymore, not one more day. It's been 3 months. I've recovered enough. I just want to go to my room. Please. Amelia stared into my eyes, observing me in her quiet way. They all looked at me like this, too long to be polite, always searching my face for something I couldn't offer. I wasn't sure they'd ever find what they were looking for. With most of my memories lost since the attack, I couldn't give myself what I needed, let alone anyone else. I'll take you to your room. My heart leapt, but before my smile could fully form, she held up a hand. But I'm calling Dr. Jensen there to look you over. Amelia, I groaned, covering my face. The only thing I wanted less than that was to return to the medical wing. She'll already know you're not where you should be. You just left. Did you think no one would notice? I shrugged, folding my arms. I wasn't focused on that part. I just wanted out. Amelia scoffed. You mean you didn't think? Because if you had, you would have called me to help you break out of there. I would have at least brought you some shoes. She met my wide-eyed eyes with a smirk. That's what friends are for. Besides, I'm sick of spending all my time there too. She sniffed. It smells terrible. I laughed, warmth filling my chest. It faded fast. I didn't want to bother anyone. Or maybe, she argued, you're tired of needing help all the time, so you didn't reach out to any of the people you know would drop everything for you. I shifted uncomfortably. She wasn't wrong. My skin itched with the need to take care of myself. How could I do that if no one ever left me alone long enough to try? Am I that transparent? I just know you. The words stung. I didn't know myself, let alone her, no matter how desperately I tried. All I had to go on was what I'd learned while stuck in my recovery room. It's okay to need help, Kara. All we want to do is help. I breathed out slowly, not hiding the way my breath and body shook. Throat too tight to speak, I nodded. Amelia relaxed, patting my leg. I hadn't realized she'd been so tense. She stood, offering me her hand. Then let's get you to your room. I let her pull me to my feet and steady me as I swayed, blinking back the dizziness. She remained steadfast against my side, an unmovable wall of support holding me upright. Despite standing a few inches taller than her, I sank my weight into her warmth. You were going the wrong way, you know. Amusement lined her words, as in you were heading in the completely opposite direction. I huffed a laugh. Maybe I was taking the scenic route so I could see more of the annex than the medical wing. Mila's eyes flicked down the hall. I followed her gaze. The only thing I could see was a dark wooden door, a single camera glowing a soft green above it. Everything seemed quiet here, outside of us. Her voice went as tight as her smile as she turned back to me. Trust me, there's nothing scenic down there. That was the first chapter of my book, Smoke and Light. I hope you enjoyed it. I really am grateful for the opportunity to read to you today. You can check out more about Smoke and Light on my website, KristinArdisBooks.com, or come visit me around the internet at Kristin Ardis Books on Instagram, Facebook, and more.